Our weekly president's meeting, still weekly by your request. I went straight to my second slide here, as most of you, or I already know all of you. I think I saw a name I might not have recognized, but my name is Gould from 7 Stage Advisors. If there's happened to be anybody on here that we haven't met before, welcome to our call. This is our weekly check-in to make sure that we're taking full advantage of the opportunities, the time that we have in front of us, and it gives us an opportunity also to take a slightly deep dive into some of the topics that you all have requested. And this week, we're back. The economy is back open, and what that means is, at some point by the time Monday rolls around, all 50 states will be back in business in one way, shape, or form and reopening their economy. Before we get started on that, just take one last minute. If you haven't done so already, please type into your chat box, what was the top growth strategy, hack, technique, tactic that you or somebody in your business utilized the last time there was either an industry downturn or an economic downturn, and then we'll share those. And I am so flattered. I really, really, really do appreciate the feedback, because I said, what would you guys want, going forward? What were the topics? What would make this truly valuable? And you all said a guest speaker. So I'm only mildly offended that your top feedback was less of you speaking, Carl, and more of others. But having said that, we have our guest speaker for today, Russ Miller. We're going to talk a little bit about acquisition growth as part of an overall conversation of down market growth strategies. All right. So what's new? Last week we talked about this. $3 trillion round of stimulus has been voted yes on. It's gone through the House. It's got to go through the Senate. They'll likely go back and forth and argue over the finer points. But there is another round of stimulus that's already been agreed upon that is going to come out at some point. Question is when. Okay. And Russ, we'll have you ready in just a few minutes. So if you can go ahead and mute your line, so we don't get any back draft here. And cool. There we go. So 50 states are open. The question isn't let's get open. The question and our challenge is going to be stay open. All right. Now, we've been hearing from a number of clients and a number of colleagues that when you may have applied for the EIDL disaster grant and or loan. If that's the case, then you may start to be hearing back from the SBA because they're funded and because they've made some adjustments, they are now ready for taking some loan applications. So once again, no new loan applications unless you're in agriculture. However, if you've been following the guidance, and I'm pretty sure all of you have applied for EIDL at some point, and the SBA is now coming back, even though it's 30, 45 days later, and saying, hey, we're ready for you now. We've pre-approved you for a certain amount, and if you have applied for that, you might be getting some emails from the Small Business Administration. If you have, or if this applies to you in any way, shape, or form, thank you, Dave Strack. He located a really good YouTube video, and I want to say the guy's name is John Harrington. He's an entrepreneur. He's put together a couple of really good instructional YouTube videos that walk you through screenshot by screenshot what that application looks like, how it worked, and some of the finer points. It's really well explained. So check it out if you need to. If that even is relevant to you. If you've applied for EIDL in the past, you might be, or you've already heard back from the SBA, and you might want to advance that application. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that today. We'll come back to that later. It is a very good low interest loan that the SBA is offering, and you'll have an opportunity there should you pursue it. This little graphic on the right-hand side of your screen was pretty interesting. The message here is get open, stay open, and a couple of things that have been three most prominent things that have been recommended as ways to make sure that we stay open is to, make sure that we socially distance, make sure that we wear a mask, make sure that we keep our hands clean. So I don't know how this has changed at all since we were kids, but what did they say when we were kids? Stay away from strangers, wash your hands, and cover your mouth, right? I don't know how that much changed all of my mother used to say that to me constantly when I was a kid. Now it takes the CDC for all of us to comply, but who knows how that's gonna work. So that's what's new, but here's what's coming. I think what you're seeing as it relates to what the fall is going to look like, a glimmer of things to come is this: universities are canceling in-class instruction after Thanksgiving. If your kids are in college, they're going to go in school instruction, in class instruction, up till Thanksgiving, and then after that, it's going to be homeschooling through January. What are they thinking? They're thinking, you know what? We don't want to take a chance of having coronavirus and flu at the same time with a whole bunch of people in the same room. Guess where that's going to trickle out to? That's going to trickle out to government-run institutions, municipal workplaces, and ultimately maybe your office. I'm not making a recommendation here and now. I'm just putting a little shot across the bow for now, so you understand that's already a trend. 4 states are adopting this policy for their schools. So you can imagine that will trickle down to high school, maybe even public school, grades, grammar schools, and maybe even to your office. So what is likely to be coming and what you should likely be preparing for? So whoever is in charge of the people and the office function in your office, you may want to start thinking about a hybrid workforce with rotating office hours. Let's tackle that first. So a hybrid workforce, okay? Think about, and this kind of brings in number 2 at the same time. A hybrid workforce does 2 things. One, you don't have everybody in the office at the same time. One thing everybody can agree on, all the experts seem to agree on, is the longer you're around others who might be infected and you get exposed to the virus, the more chance you have of contracting it. That seems pretty common sense. So what's one way to help that? Well, you have less people in the office at any given time. Since over the last 2 months, we've all become very good at working remotely, I think, spaced immersion as it relates to, working from home, schooling from home, I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to be a reality. So you might want to be on the front end of that, be proactive, and start thinking about how you're going to rotate your office hours. Is somebody going to be on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule? Somebody going to be on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule? Somebody going to be on an 8 to 1 or 1 to 5? Are you going to rotate depending on how your business works? So just start thinking about that. I have a sense that that's likely going to happen. Number 2, if you provide services in other people's offices, think about this. If you're looking at a picture of the new office space that's going to have all sorts of protocols on sanitizing and non-essential workers and delivery hours, that's going to include you. So we talked about it last week, but start thinking about having off-peak, off-hours, contact-free or even touch-free service offerings. All right. So in other words, we had this conversation, Doug, Eric, and Robin from IND and I had this conversation earlier this week. If you provide services to businesses during office hours where you would be interacting with their workforce, they're not going to want you there. Right? So you say, all right, well, does that mean I have to take a cut now because I have to do the same service at the same price, but I have to come in at night, but I pay my people overtime? We're not saying that. What we're saying is offer the option. Sure, we'll come out and work on your equipment. We'll update your IT. We'll deliver. We'll clean, all that. Here's the option during work hours. Here's the option after work hours. And after work hours might carry a slight premium. Give them the option. Don't make it sound like a punishment. Repurpose your messaging. And rather than just saying, well, I'll come later in the day, no, just we'll offer our off-peak, contact-free, touch-free experience, or touch-free service. Let's give it a name. Let's repurpose the messaging, and let's put a premium on it. Add 10%, add 15%. You want me to come in on the weekends? Add 20%, or whatever the number is. Okay? As part of this kind of an underlying theme is we want to shield and shelter the vulnerable. Now, for the most part, that means the elderly, but it does include people with underlying conditions. But one of the countries you can take a real lesson from that's worked out very well for is we have a number of clients in South Africa. And Grant can speak to this. While he's not in South Africa, he can relate. One of the things they did in South Africa was they almost immediately told all people 60 and older, shelter in place. And they have flattened their curve very quickly because that is the most vulnerable group. So let's just think in terms of that. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next slide here, and here we go. All right, so let's talk about down market growth strategy. Let me make a couple points, and then I'll bring Russ on. So three basic options that we have to explore here. I've had this conversation with most of you already as far as a concept or an approach. Let me make a couple of points, and then we're going to dive into acquisition growth. Now, of all the ways that you can sell to your customers right now, one of the ways that might be the most difficult is new services to new accounts, right? Because there's uncertainty, they don't know you yet. Maybe you can't even get to them because their office isn't open, or the person you started speaking to isn't back in the office, all right? So we're going to focus today on existing customers. All right, so one of a down market organic growth strategy is cross-selling, upselling, and downselling to existing customers. So what's a cross-sell? A cross-sell is simply, if I'm already providing one service to you, are there other complementary services that I can do? So for example, you're an electrical contractor. You come in and you have to run wire in somebody's facility. On the way in, you're talking to the facilities manager and they say, oh, you know, it's killing me in the back. I'd love to have you put in those lights in the back parking lot, but I can't get an excavator out here to dig the trench. Really? Well, wouldn't you know it? We happen to have a piece of excavation equipment. We can do that also. So are there any other ancillary services that you can provide? So you're an IT managed service provider, and they say, well, you know, we trust you in our office, but we don't trust all the other people coming in, and we have this big, we have to move all this furniture, and we don't have anybody to project manage it. Well, we project manage all the time. They're IT projects, but a managed project's a managed project. So is that something we can do for an existing client that fits into our core competency? It might not be exactly what we do, but is it an additional service we can do while we're there? We're a cleaning company, but can I clean the outside windows? Can I go in the back and power wash the sidewalks? Can I clean your car? We know how to clean stuff. What additional services can you also add? That's a cross-sell. An upsell is, you know, whatever package you're on, you want to upgrade to the next level of service or product offering. Maybe it's a good time to do it now because you're running a special, or maybe they have furloughed or let off some of their people and they simply don't have the wherewithal to do it now. So upgrading to your next level is a smart move for them now. And then there's a downsell. They want to keep working with you, but budget restraints or other restrictions don't allow for that. So maybe you can even temporarily lower them to a lower service offering as a way to keep them even temporarily. All right? So think, what of these three things, or of these three things, which of our pipeline fits into those? All right. Okay, cool. All right, now, S.A.P growth, strategic alliance or joint venturing growth. Now, this just isn't, hey, let me talk up somebody else. This is actively cross-promoting two companies that share the same ideal client avatar, but your complementary services. All right, so let's say we both sell to residences. I'm a gutter cleaner. You're a home inspection company. I'm going to write a letter to my customers on your behalf. You're going to write a letter to your customers on my behalf. I'm a business advisor. You're an accountant. You're a managed service provider. I'm a telephone provider. Okay, I'm a mold mitigation company. You're a construction company. We don't compete on service, but we talk to the same person. So this is actively cross-promoting right now. If you're a trusted source, if you're a trusted source, then your clients will listen to you when you bring somebody else in that they say you ought to talk to. I'm about to do that in just a minute. All right? Okay. All right. Now, acquisition growth, and then I'll turn it over to Russ. You've got a number of opportunities here. Guys, as we've talked about over the last few weeks, we have entered a 5 to 9 year volatility cycle that is going to shake loose and put undue distress on weaker companies. They are going to need to raise cash, or in some cases, this last rodeo of COVID was just it was the straw that broke the camel's back. They don't want to go through another turnaround. They just don't want to do it. They're tired. I just got off the phone with somebody who's looking to sell their business now. It'll be an inside deal. It's going to be within family, but they said, you know what, it's time. It's time. I just don't want to go through this again. There's parts of my business I love, parts of my business I don't. I don't think I want to go through rebuilding that part of the business. I don't want to do it. Okay, so we're entering a time where there is going to be a lot of good deals out there. All right, now, when we're thinking about buying through acquisition, here's why I'm stressing this so much. Of all the areas of your business, the ones that are going to be limited the most right now is your sales team, right? But your operations team's ready to rock and roll. So if you were to put a whole bunch of client engagements, into your operations team, they can handle it. They've got the capacity. So what if we bought some revenue? We bought somebody else's book of business. This is a way to fill capacity in your operations. Oh, there's a position you've been having trouble filling. Maybe you can buy some talent. Maybe that other business has salespeople, marketing people, financial people, you name it, people that would fit very nicely or fill some gaps in your particular office. Okay? Now, buying systems. This was very strategic when we did this for Hamilton Lawn and Landscape. I don't think those guys are on today, but we bought another landscaping company that had a really slick marketing system, a direct mail marketing system where they onboarded almost 100% of their clients through direct mail. If you can imagine that. You talk old school. The second year Hamilton Lawn and Landscape had, bought the company that integrated it. They did the first year. The first full year that they did that marketing campaign, they onboarded 500 accounts, folks. 500 accounts through direct mail. Direct mail, right? So it was worth buying that company. I got the revenue, I got the talent, I got the geography, I even eliminated a competitor. But mostly, I bought the system. Okay. Now the last two are somewhat straightforward. You can buy geography, meaning I'm in this service area. I bought the service area right next to me, so I can expand my reach. And if I buy a competitor, I've eliminated them. Even if I don't change their name and I keep running them under their name, now every time there's a job that comes up, a project comes up, I own two companies that put in a bid. I increased my chances, or I've eliminated my competitor. Okay, but during a down economy, there are good deals out there. There are people that are willing to negotiate. They're willing to be creative with you, be it in purchase price or in terms and conditions. So knowing that this was a hot topic, and a number of you have said, hey, listen, who do you know that could help us as it relates to buying a business? Let me introduce Russ Miller from Murphy Business. and Financial Corp of New Jersey. Russ is part of Murphy Business Brokers. They're a franchise company, founded in '94 in Florida, 125 offices around the U.S. and Canada. So that will work well for all of you because Russ, as you know, I'm not talking to just a New Jersey audience. They're all around the country. So Russ has reach all throughout the country. He focuses in your area. He's not just doing the large, large cap, large mid-market deals that you read about, by McKinsey and Bain. He buys and sells the companies that fit right into your niche. I mean, Russ is so focused. I said to him, Russ, send me a headshot of you and see that little icon on the right. That's what he sent me. That's how bought in this guy is. He's like, I'm your next opportunity right there. So, you talk about a guy that's bought in. All right, so I met Russ years ago, back in when he was part of Huntington Learning Centers, and he's got a long history of business development, of starting businesses from scratch on his own, as well as now being a regional director for Murphy Business Sales. So the area we're going to focus on today specifically is you all buying businesses. All right, and Russ, when we get to that point, if you could just spend a moment and talk about how you do your buyer searches, because one of the areas, guys, here's the reason why I asked Russ to come on, was one of the hardest positions, and we've all gone through it, is hiring a salesperson. And because of one of the services that Murphy offers, they will actually go out and search for businesses, even if they're not for sale, that meet your criteria to buy. And that's how, when you hire a salesperson, what do you ask them to do? Here's our ideal client avatar. Go out and sell them our services. Well, here they actually go out and try to find the business you can buy that meets your criteria. So without further ado, Russ, I've got your slides. You just tell me when you want me to move along. But everybody, meet Russ Miller from Murphy Business Brokers. Russ, take it away.
Carl, can you hear me okay? Everybody hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Perfect. Carl, first off, thank you. Thank you for having me as a guest. Like you said, we've known each other for over a decade now, so I'm honored to be a guest on your weekly broadcast. As discussed tonight, today's topic is growing your business through acquisitions. You discussed several reasons why people want to do that. I have on here some of the benefits that we see and hear from people that are buying businesses. Many of our primary services, we list businesses for sale. A lot of those businesses are bought by competitors, some of the things that you said for the reasons that you did. But the large benefits are, you can grow your business much faster. And the first thing I want to say is congratulations if you're in a position to look at growth, which many companies, as you pointed out, are not right now. But if you're in that position, congratulations. Growing your business is awesome. So faster growth is first one. Second thing is it's much lower risk. When you open a new office or a new branch in a new market, or if you bring on new staff or whatever, there's always some risk associated with that. If you are out looking at an existing business and make an acquisition of that business, before you ever do that, you get to examine their books, their records, their history, maybe talk to some of their clients, maybe talk to some of their vendors, and you get to know exactly what you're buying, some history on that, numbers, facts, figures. You get it all. So that's it's a lot lower risk than just making a big investment and opening up a new branch or something like that, because you know what you're getting into and you know where strengths and weaknesses are going in, and you just hopefully can pick up where they left off and grow it even more. The next thing, it's pretty obvious, you can increase your market share by acquiring an existing business, whether that be a competitor or if it be something a similar line, like you talked about. The gutter cleaner and the home inspection company. So if you buy that, you could diversify off of your existing base. And we get several people that come to us too that buy a like business or a completely different business because they do want to diversify their core. So that's those are some of the obvious benefits for growing through acquisition. Some of the best practices that we've seen is you need to be clearly defined in what your goals are. The type of business that you want, the areas that you want to look in. You have to make sure that what your plan is has to be clearly defined, so that when we go and do our search, it can be a narrow search that makes it much more effective, but also you can prepare better for that acquisition. And so a clearly defined search is the first step. The second thing that's very important too is you want to make sure you're capitalized for that, so that when you go into the market, you can act quickly. And that may not be money in the bank, but it may be a bank behind you ready to give you that money. We just did a acquisition last October with a $5 million HVAC company, and the credit line was already in place, and we structured the deal where the bank had a position on it. They came in with about 40% of the purchase price. We had cash, and then we also got the seller to hold the note, and we also had an employment agreement, where we were basically overpaying the seller to stay on to ensure that they did stay on. And that's, like I said, that was an HVAC company. So the deal structure, which is the third thing on there, is also extremely important. You need to understand that it's not just buying the business, but it's also being able to buy that business and maintain, what they've been doing, because that's what you're buying, and that may require you keeping on the management team or the founder or the owners or key employees for an extended period of time, and that all needs to be negotiated and part of the deal structure when you move forward. And each of those things are things that we can consult with and help you with through that practice. Carl asked me to talk about some of the pitfalls in buying a business, and the pitfalls are really the reverse of the best practices. If you buy a business that you really shouldn't have or can't manage or don't know it's not the right business for you, or you overpay for it, those are all problems. If you're not properly capitalized, if you overreach in buying that acquisition, it could hurt your core business as well. So you want to make sure that you're properly capitalized and you're not going to take away from what got you to this point. And then another common pitfall is the agreements. You want to make sure, and again, we all have great attorneys, but if your attorney hasn't done an acquisition before, you want to make sure you are locking up those key employees. They have a strong operating agreement that defines the roles that you are going to play, as well as the roles that the seller is going to play, and how long, and all that needs to be very clearly defined, or else you could find yourself wasting a lot of time and having, building a lot of anxiety with this new acquisition. So they say good fences make good neighbors. Well, good agreements make good business acquisitions as well. So you want to make sure that's clearly done in the beginning before you sign on the dotted line and anybody gets any money. So those are some of the pitfalls. Carl also said, asked me to talk about how we do our Murphy buyer searches. So the first step is to talk to you. Find out what it is that your goals are, what the target areas, the types of businesses that you might be interested in growing into. From that, we develop a list, and we have different lead sources that we use. Or one is Sales Genie, Info USA. There's a number of databases, Hoopers, where we can pull companies in that target area and do our research, as well as Google and LinkedIn. Those are also two very good tools that we do. But the first goal is to find out what your parameters are. Then you hire us. Then we pull the list. We do our search online, as well as through our paid the paid list that we buy. We then also place online ads. There's actually websites where you can advertise that you're looking for specific target areas. These are companies that we have contracts with already, so it's easy for us to put up ads quickly. Then we do run the target list. We create a letter. Murphy has a mail house, an in-house mail house, as well as call center, so that getting the letters together and getting those out is pretty streamlined. We then contact all those businesses, or we turn on our telemarketing department to go after and place that initial phone call to let them know that we have an interested buyer in their business. And our telemarketers, everything is based out of Clearwater, Florida. But and believe it or not, there's a couple of New Jersey women down there in our Clearwater office. But they are seasoned veterans that this is all they do. They are telemarketing for our 125 offices around the country, and they're good at it. So after the telemarketing goes after, if they find any warm hits, that comes back to us, and then either me or one of our 8 brokers will follow up and contact that potential seller and try to pre-qualify them, make sure that preliminary information that we got on them through our list is accurate and that they really do fall in the target. And if they do, then that's the time for a conference call with with our buyer, with our client. We represent the buyer throughout the process. Again, we're working for you, and that's pretty clear. After the telemarketing goes through and contacts all the businesses, for the first round, then that list is then returned to us. We then do follow-up calls locally, depending on the notes on that particular business. We may also, hit them again with emails or letters, as follow-ups to that, or we try to get appointments with them to actually better qualify whether they're really part of the target or not. So then the cycle repeats again. After that, if we're successful in finding a target business, then that's great. We continue with you through the acquisition. Usually we get 2 or 3, in that initial round, and then we keep going. The contract with us is for 6 months, but it renews automatically as long as you want us to keep working for you. So we review, we repeat. The pool keeps getting smaller because we're knocking people off the list in the target area. So it's we continue our communication with you and make sure that we're moving forward and serving in your interest. When we do get a fish on the line, we help you with the deal making. Again, we're not attorneys. We don't try to be attorneys, but we do understand deals. Personally, I've done a couple hundred business transactions, so we can talk to you from a realistic point of view as to what works and what doesn't work. That's pretty much it, Carl. That's the process. Again, we're your goal is our goal, and we do everything we can to make it happen.
Cool. So how many deals have you done this year so far?
Well, we did 10 deals in the first quarter, the first 3 months, and then since then, unfortunately, we've only done 1. Now, we were supposed to do 5 in April. Unfortunately, like I said, only 1 of those actually closed. But the 4 others didn't go away. They just put themselves on hold.
You're still seeing the activity.
We're seeing a lot of activity. It did get very quiet for 2 weeks there, but no different than when Sandy hit or, after the market crashed in 2008. I've weathered all those storms, and it does get quiet, but people do need to sell their businesses. And like you said, there's going to be a 5 to 9 year volatility in the market. I agree. We've always thought these baby boomers are all going to want to sell, and all of a sudden we're going to get flooded. I think this is going to be the catalyst that, again, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and we're going to have a very healthy 3rd and 4th quarter as far as people wanting to sell their business.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And so I was making some notes while you were talking. So you brought up a good point, because I know there's a lot of people that will buy a franchise or start a franchise because it will generate leads into their core business. And so it's the same thing, guys. When you buy a company, if you buy a company, they might have existing leads that maybe didn't sell that company's service, but would be a good lead for your company. The other thing that reminded me as you were talking, Russ, was when Hamilton Lawn and Landscape bought the other company. Hamilton Lawn and Landscape provided 7 different landscaping type services: cut lawns, mulching, lawn care, pruning, enhancements. What was the other one I'm thinking of? Cleanups. And this other company only did 1 of the 7. So they were able to sell anywhere from 2 to 4 of their services to that client list. So remember, in a down market, the easiest sale is to the existing customer base. So if you've got, if you buy the company, the leads that weren't good come your way, and their client list is a target for your complementary services. So again, we want to think about that from, even if you don't buy, that's where the cross promotion comes in. But if we do buy, that's our opportunity. So we want to look at that. And we are, like that economist that said to us a couple months ago, this is a good borrowing environment. The interest rate has never been lower. Now, Russ, in the 10 or 11 deals you've done this year, have they all been some combination where have they been creative deals like, seller note plus a little bit of financing plus a little bit of cash, or have they all been, hey, you got to get a loan and buy them out all at once, or has it been a variety?
Well, out of the 10, most of them have been seller notes and cash from the buyer. There were 1 or 2 SBA deals in there, but most of them, there's a lot of cash out there. A lot of people have a lot of money to invest. So,
right.
But a seller note is also very typical in our business. Anywhere from 10 to 30% of the purchase price the seller holds on.
Right. So if
from a buyer's perspective.
Yeah, but if you're the buyer, one of your concerns is well, how do I come up with the cash? How do I come up with a loan of that size? And what you're hearing is that the seller, in many cases, will hold back a significant amount as a note, right? And they usually take second position behind any bank. So you're right. So you're so that works really well. So guys, I wanted to so 2 things. Russ, first off, thank you for coming on. Julia, are there any questions for Russ? Anybody have any questions or comments or clarifications in the chat?
Not for Russ, no.
Okay, not for Russ. Okay, cool. So I'll finish up, and then we'll do our what was your business hack during a down economy. But well, guys, what I wanted to introduce you to Russ. If it turns out Russ is not your guy, that's fine. I understand that. You'll pick your resource. But if you think about why I brought him on, is one of the reasons why was we've been talking about how to grow sales. Half of you, we've had the conversation, I can't get a good salesperson. But certain companies have processes in place where they're essentially your salesperson. So what I love about the buyer search process, and Russ and I have had a conversation about this, and he has been gracious enough to be open to this, and because of our long-standing relationship, normally you bring him on, there's a fee to get started, and then he'll start all the searches. And I said, well, would you be willing to, at least when you first met with somebody, before they engaged with you, you don't have to give them your whole list, of course, but would you show any one of these folks what is a representative type business that you would show them that is not for sale that you would find through a search? And he said, yes, I'd be more than happy to do that. So what that means, guys, is he would do some of the legwork, get your parameters, find out what the whole list looks like, but come back to you with a couple of business types and say, hey, listen, by the way, there's 37 companies in your service area that fit your description. Here, I blocked out the name, but here's what they look like. This is the kind of thing you can expect. So Russ has been gracious enough to offer that. Obviously, he can run down a list of any company that's already for sale. But what I like is that he goes out and finds the companies that are not for sale and says, hey, listen, are you interested in selling? I got a buyer who, that, and you are on their parameter list. So would you like to talk? So it's just like if you hired an organic salesperson and you said, we got to sell more of our products and services. Go make a list of potential clients. Go find out if we could talk them into buying our stuff. It's the same kind of process. So if obviously I believe in Russ and his process, and I've seen him in action, so I'd highly recommend him. But if it's not him, find somebody else who has a process like this, who's going to proactively go out as your advocate and find you business candidates that are interested in selling. So we can, for all the reasons we just mentioned, you can buy the revenue, the talent, the market share, the competitor, or the system to grow your business, because now's the time. We're in a down market. On market strategies, this is one of the top down market strategy growth hacks. So we want to at least pursue that. Russ, I'll include your, if you're okay with it, I'll include your slides when we send everything out. I'll recap tomorrow. Yeah, good. All right. And if you want to contact Russ, his information is in his slides, and feel free to reach out for him, and he can walk you through what that process looks like. But let's give the acquisition growth plan a serious look, because, you know, I talk to CEOs all day long, and I can tell you right now how tired some of them are. And, you know, not to put, you know, not to stereotype too much or put anyone in any one box, but, you know, you get somebody who's 50 and above, all right, and they've been in this for 30 years, 25 years, and they went through 9/11, and they went through 2008 and 2009, and they went through 1987. They've been to enough of these rodeos that it's time for them. And there's more of them out there than you think. And if they find somebody who they trust and take good care of their clientele, or possibly good care of their employees, you know, they'd consider it where they might not be on the market right now. So Russ, thank you once again. Appreciate you coming on, and thanks for sharing some of your knowledge with us.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks for having me.
You got it. All right. All right, Julia, if you wouldn't mind, if you would put Russ on mute, and what are some of the growth hacks that people have used in a downturn? Okay, I think I can see a few of these.
Yeah, we have added executive conversations.
And I think by that, that Joe put that up there, if I recall. And I know John, Chaffee, and Fran, you've done that as well. Owners going out and having a CEO to CEO discussion. What can we do more? How else can we help? And then that conversation turns into 3 or 4 bullet points that make sense. And then you turn it over to your team. Oh, that's great. I'll have Eddie or Chris follow up with you. I'll have Jane or John follow up with you, and your group and my team and your team will get together, and they'll action these items. So good one. What else?
Reviewed our current state, then reevaluated and changed what we saw as positive improvements. Change.
So pivoting, they changed. Okay, and I put the next one out here. So we've done this twice in 2 different businesses. Is we found during the downtime that people who are good at selling our product, like promoting and advocating our product, weren't always the best at closing, and sometimes our closers didn't have the patience for the relationship building sometimes necessary, you know, during a downtime. So we separated the sellers and the closers, and we started to go to a team concept in selling, where and we found that to be very good. So do you want to take the next one?
Stay in touch with the clients.
All right, stay in touch with the client. Okay, cool.
Work on widening my network.
Widening my network, very good.
Increase Google and expenditures.
Google ads.
Google ads, sorry. Yeah.
Guys, last week, I think I told you this. Well, I've had 5 conversations with our clients, and some of you are on this call, where you increased in the rankings and you said you didn't do anything different. Want to know why? Because your competitors stopped marketing, or they pulled back on their ad spend. And so you've ascended in the rankings. Now is the time right now to increase your ad spend, because your competitors, if you have held your own or raised in the rankings and you haven't done anything significant in the past week, it's likely because your competitors have slowed down their market spend. And we've seen that in a couple of places. So I would think about going after some of those areas that you hadn't gone after before, or thought they might be too expensive, or just throw a little bit of budget, even if it's like $100 a day, or $500 a month, at that area that you hadn't been advertising in, because I bet you your competitors have slowed their ad spend. So Julie, if you can go back up a few higher, there was something about curbside. If you can bring that one up.
I don't have that one. I may have lost a couple when I got kicked off.
Okay. So I see one here. So we are doing curbside pickup, or outside, or curbside pickup to sell merchandise. We'll let you know how it goes. Curbside is here to stay. Curbside is here to stay. Malls are doing it. Restaurants are doing it. I don't see a reason why any company should stop doing it. And I think curbside, whether you call in advance when you're rolling up, or you go on the app, And so what you call it? If you are, I think curbside is going to be a long range trend, and it's a good trend. I think it's convenient. I don't have to get out of my car, and you'll bring it right out to me. I think people appreciate it and really enjoy the idea. Okay.
And we have a comment on the Google Ads too. It says Google just finished rolling out a core update to their algorithm. It's important to check rankings and changes in ranking now.
Cool. Yeah, I would. I would absolutely endorse that. I think that's a smart move right now.
And we have one more. Focus on business to consumer versus business to business.
Go straight from business to business. Okay, cool. Business to consumer, yeah. Versus business to business, yeah. Because they can make those decisions. You know, Facebook's traffic is up 40%, right? And we all kind of know what everyone's doing right now. They're all at home, right? Or they're I'm at the office today, but what am I doing? I got my computer right there. I got my phone right here, and I'm staring at my computer. We're all doing the same thing 24/7. And Facebook's traffic, as if they needed more traffic, is up like 40%. So absolutely check that out.
And we had a question from earlier. Does anyone know what's happened with daycare? The impact on workers being able to go to work is at stake. And that was from John.
Yeah, you know, gosh, I just saw a YouTube interview, and I'll think about it, and I'll get it into the meeting notes. There's a country that they sent everyone under 16 years old back to school almost right away with no increase in cases. I want to say it's not Japan. There's a country. I just heard the interview yesterday, and I'll remember which country it was. But I don't know. I don't know in the United States what that's going to look like anytime soon as far as formal daycare. I think there's still a fear of any sort of gathering, but I would have to suspect that there'll be limits on class sizes for daycares, for daycare facilities. I would think this would be a really good time for in-home care. If you talk to in-home healthcare companies, they are still servicing their clientele in-home. But I think that's going to be a wait and see based on what the mood and what the state mandates are going to be. I think that's going to be a challenge. Okay. Any other? I see the hybrid workforce. Okay, good. Any other? Okay. So Steve and Joe, continue that conversation offline. Was that a Steve McCaffrey? Google just finished out rolling? Core update? It just says Steve on mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so was that Steve McCaffrey? I have a feeling that was.
That was me, Carl. Schneider.
Oh, Steve Schneider. Steve Schneider. Okay. Oh, you didn't say Steven. Oh, I've been being way too formal. Oh gosh, I had no idea. He's been making me call him Mr. Schneider for years now, and all of a sudden he's Steve. He's Steve for the rest of you.
You think it's easy, bud?
I'm telling you.
I know. Now, right?
I feel your pain. I feel your pain. All right. Yeah. So Joe, Steve, have that. If you guys don't know each other already, but Todd and Stephen from Kramer and Joe from Highspeako, continue that conversation offline. If you need an intro, I'm happy to do it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve and Todd do the lion's share of their business through e-com on their website. So they'd be a good resource for you there for sure. All right, cool. So guys, awesome. So are there any other? We're gonna wrap up on this point. Everyone keeps saying now, it's going to be a stepped, recovery. Remember, Q2 is going to stink, Q3 is going to be flat, Q4 is going to work its way up. And the question just is how fast and how far and how quickly will that trajectory go? But regardless of that trajectory, all right, if you are a long sales cycle company, a couple things you're going to look at is one, revenue you're going to bring in this year, but also closed contracts, signed contracts that are going to monetize in next year, right? But there's one thing that you can control right now, and that is acquisition. If we can't sell our way to our numbers, let's buy our way to our numbers. And guys, you think Todd and Steven go back and forth at each other? BJ and Joe are at each other constantly, and there's a running bet. And BJ's going to win. I'm telling you, I got my money on BJ. BJ's the CFO of the company, and his goal is to be the #1 salesperson in the company. And you know how he's going to do that? He's going to be, see, Joe's already, look, see, Joe doesn't even like it because he knows it's true. He's like, oh, no, Joe's life as we know it will be over. There's the pre-BJ number and there's the post-BJ. And the day
on credit hold.
He'll put him on credit hold. I love it. So here's what's going to happen. BJ and the finance team, as a fun little conversation we've been having is, we say we want the finance team to be responsible for more revenue than the sales team. And the day that the finance team ever outpaces the sales team, it's going to the finance team. They're humble, they're modest, they're not going to rub it in their faces like the sales team would. But for at least a minute, they're going to enjoy it. And the reason why is because BJ and his team are going to go out and find an acquisition. That's what they're going to do. They're going to find an acquisition, they're going to bring it into the company, and they're going to say, huh, look at that. We're responsible for more revenue this year than you are, sales team, so you better get going. And right now, it's just there's a prime environment for certain things. So like I said, we'll have the conversation with you. I'll reinforce it. We like Russ, but he, like I said, he's the right package for us, and we like the market that he operates in. But if it's not him, let's find another local resource or another person for you that'll do it, and let's find the business broker that will go out and do these searches for you, because they're a built-in salesperson. So if you thought for a minute, should we get a sales rep? Should we hire a salesperson? How do we get more revenue in the door? This is another way to do it, and there's revenue, talent, resources out there that are and companies that are complementary that would be good lead generation. We're talking right now with two construction companies. One does mold water mitigation, like emergency response and restoration, and then there's a construction company. Well, restoration is a lead generator for construction. Okay, construction is a complementary service to restoration. At some point, people have these sorts of problems. If you're a construction company and you also have a restoration or mitigation arm, they're very, very complementary. They're not the same business, but they're very complementary. They use the same core competency. So let's think in those terms, because our down market strategy for growth is existing customers, cross-sell, downsell, upsell, and also acquisition, right? Joint venturing as well. So let me see if I can play matchmaker here. Let's see. Okay. All right. I'll go Kramer and Hyspico, because you guys sell to similar clientele. Kramer sells finishing, sandblasting, and tumbling media to companies that make stuff, build stuff. Hyspico sells fluid power systems, does power units, manufacturing and fabrication and service to companies that build stuff. So you both have an extensive client list. So Kramer Industries sends out a letter to all of its clientele, talking about Hyspico and their services and whatever deal Hyspico wants to make to Kramer clientele, and then Hyspico does the same thing. If you guys are finishing anything, sandblasting, tumbling, you either need it done, you either need it job shopped, you need the problem fixed, just need consultation, or you need the consumables that go with it. We recommend Kramer Industry that could service you, right? So remember, you're a trusted resource. Now you're just introducing them to another trusted resource. So that's one way that works. Let me do one more. Let's see, let me do one more. Okay, so maybe one of these days you guys will learn to put your whole names in when it says, what's your name? And you don't just put in like L, right? So I don't know who you are. All right, okay. I'm looking for a salesperson, but I can't find one, right? Well, RJ Bird, they're a staffing company, mostly in the financial sector, mostly accountants, engineers, more technical people. but my core competency is finding people. So maybe I can offer an ancillary service to help you for this project, to help you staff a few salespeople, right? So, you know, or you cross promote. If you're looking to find somebody, I know a company that does really well with this, and if you provide services to that same clientele, that staffing company can say, here's a company that provides services to you. I know we placed a few people, but you might be looking to get some other services done, okay? Thank you, wireless caller. I can't use you as an example. Okay. One more. Oh, you guys are killing me. You got to put your names in here. All right. Okay. Let's see. Ah, okay. All right. I'll do one more. All right. So I need sales. So we're on this, down market growth strategy. I need salespeople. Well, A+ Products is a manufacturer's rep. Right. What they do is they are a sales force, and what they do is they will. They will take what your product is and who your market is. They'll do an assessment and say, I could put salespeople on this tomorrow. All right, we know how to sell anything. You just give me the talking points. You help me understand what and how to sell this product, and so we can cross-pollinate that way. Okay, so those are 3 examples. Please put your names in here next time so I can use it as more examples. But here, so these are some of the ways that we can cross-pollinate. These are some of the ways that in a down market we can leverage each other through cross-promotion or cross-selling and sharing and helping each other out by sharing in services. So, all right, my last slide, if you have not done so, and then we'll finish things up. Okay, I'm still screen sharing. My last slide, so we took questions before. Come on now. Oh, here we go. If you haven't filled out the 7-Stage Advisors Marketplace Google form, please do that. Melissa, include that in the email, and we'll make whatever introductions we can. So we're at the top of the hour, just a couple minutes past. So I'll leave you with that for today, everyone. Another great meeting. Looking for we'll post next week's agenda in the call that we. The email we send out with the call notes, and I'll make sure that you guys get that. You'll get the agenda. We'll see you next week. Have a great Memorial Day. The economy's open. Let's keep it